It's almost comparable to the act of sex itself. It's the procreative act of the universe, flowing eternally from awareness of our oneness and then forgetting this unity and flowing back into ignorance once again. It's an endless cycle of creation. States of forgetting and ignorance, they're essential to the evolution and creation of consciousness. They are the very crux, because in returning to a state of unity and self-realization, remembering the primal self beyond the universe, the so-called Alpha and Omega, allows the self to expand and evolve. It is never stagnant in understanding what it means to exist. Without the illusion of separation, the self remains in unity and never fully realizes its potential. So it's a process that never ends and has no limits. Separation is essential and just as important as the stage of realizing one's unity.
Yes, that's why sex is such a charged issue for cultures in the human experience. It is really an alpha and omega place. I'll admit, I would like to realize a state of pure unity all the time. That's why I'm interested in shamanism, etc. And the idea of surpassing my own species, my species' role form, or current state of consciousness is something that I strive for.
I believe each soul is continuously at a different phase, either in forgetting or remembering the self. That's why there are no old souls or young souls. They're just souls on different levels of awareness, either in forgetting or remembering. That's why my guides tried to help me to see this, so I'd understand and be free of judgment.
So, it's a metaphor for our struggle. We want it unconsciously to feel this oneness with one another, and ultimately with the divine, once again returning to the primal self beyond the universe. Yes, and most souls have either their windows completely open into a state of full remembering, or they're partway open, or some souls are shut completely in the stage of forgetting and then in the stage of ignorance. But each state is ultimately not permanent.
Yes, exactly. But in experiencing a complete state of oneness, a soul also desires to forget this oneness. This is so it can experience its oneness again. An analogy would be like the sexual act of oneness cannot be experienced again without some kind of a period of separation. Perpetual sex may sound really fun, but after a while it kind of loses its bliss.
I know that when I was born, I felt like an adult, or that I was already somehow old.
Well, you have been on the phase of your soul's journey of remembering and returning to unity again, no doubt. This may give the illusion that your soul is older, but this is not to be taken literally, because you will inevitably experience complete unity at once, and then you will eventually desire to forget this state so that you can again re-experience it. This happens again and again. It's an eternal process, an eternal cycle. Just like the physical universe continually flows from a point of singularity to separation again, in the Big Bang and the Big Crunch, our souls continuously ebb and flow from the state of unity to a forgetfulness of our unity in thinking that we are separate from each other.
Yes, and also we are biologically wired to not experience oneness for an extended period of time, being trapped now in a body of condensed energy that we call matter. We only perceive reality now through the limited spectrum of our five senses, but this is part of the illusion that we chose, so that we can experience separation. And this allows us to create. If we continuously remained in a state of eternal unity, experiences in this world would not seem real. Why would we need to find food or do more of the mundane things of everyday life that keeps us alive? Because we would know that our lifetimes were just an illusion, and the world would not feel real to us, and none of our experiences here in this world would feel like real, genuine experiences. Thus, our experiences would not even be genuine at all. That's why our souls voluntarily forget our unity for a short time. Much of this life is an ebb and a flow, We live in a world of constant change, like the waves crashing against the shore, so it recedes back into the ocean. There are never two moments that are exactly the same, never two waves, never two moments where the shoreline is exactly the same, even if they appear to be similar.
Exactly. People don't have sex perpetually. Perpetual bliss cannot be fully appreciated without states of non-bliss.
So the universe is all about balance.
Yes, and the universe is an ebb and a flow, a state of singularity and oneness, and then separation, and then singularity again. There is a constant in the ebb and flow, and again, the only constant is change. Yes, perpetual unity has no change at all, and change is the definition of growth itself. Without change, there can be no growth. Evolution requires change, and temporarily forgetting our unity as the one self, the self beyond the universe, the primal source. And this helps us to experience, to change, and to grow. The absolute truth is that there's no death, and those souls who we judge as bad are most likely on their phase of forgetting. But they will eventually start returning to the realization of unity again. Everything within the universe does. Then others may then judge them as good. Good and bad are mere judgments and do not reflect the absolute reality at all. So-called better or worse are just illusions. There is not better or worse, not from an eternal perspective. We have all been there. We have all been on the cycles of forgetting and returning. We've been on these cycles many times.
They need to experience whatever it is that they are experiencing in order to manifest to the next level, right? It's sometimes difficult to recognize if one soul's journey is on the phase of forgetting or on the phase of remembering. That's why we need to throw out judgments of others. Everyone is perfect at the core.
Yes, and the innate energy of violets like us is not just helping other souls remember oneness, but believe it or not, we are here also to remind them of the nature of separation as well. To remind them of the paradox that we are all one, yet separate parts of the one simultaneously, so that no one will get lost in the illusion of either state. Being lost in either state is forgetting of our true self. It's an important role that we play, but not any more important than any other. You know, this may be something that may surprise you, but sometimes violence can even appear bad, depending on what they are trying to remind other souls of. A so-called violet may be helping souls to arrive at an illusion of forgetting, an illusion of separation again. And remember, this illusion is so important in the process of evolution. Who knows, even people like Hitler could be a violet soul. We should not judge. Who knows what a particular soul is here to remind humanity of? A murderer, we may judge him to be completely evil, but they may be trying to remind a person on an unconscious level that that person really cannot die. A so-called demon may be reminding a soul of its innate power of being equal with everything around it. When the soul feels powerless to a demon, it has forgotten its innate power, and that demon may be there even if it's not aware of it, to remind that person by tormenting him until he realizes who he is.
Yes, the process of manifestation and creation, that is part of being human and having your own path. Each path of a soul is unique and cannot be walked by another soul, even if another soul may be walking on your path. It is the path of each soul to bring something special back to the collective consciousness. That's how the collective, the primal soul, the greater self, evolves in its self-awareness.
Yes, that's well said.
It's like a recipe. If every ingredient were the same,